Post care is very much critical once the crown is delivered. Both implant and natural tooth, they are similar, but only the biology is different.
Right.
So when the biological seal around the implants, the gums around the implants, they're very much delicate. They are more prone to plaque-induced inflammation. Forever maintains depends upon the maintenance. So once we have given the patient the crown, so there are things that is changing over a period of time as the patient starts using it. But once it progresses to bone, what happens is that bone loss is going to occur. So patient at this stage is not having any discomfort. So when there's those bite imbalances occur, it is going to damage the prosthetic components. Your actual life phase starts after the crown delivery. This kind of responsibilities, a respect would come only if at the chair side before delivery, if the doctor explains him what he has actually received, a sense of awareness, educating the patient about what he has received.
Good morning and welcome back to Health Unplugged, our superstars. Dental implants are usually described as once in a lifetime solution. But what actually people don't realize is that the success of a crown doesn't end once the implant or a crown is placed. Once the implant is placed, what decides whether the implant will last for 5 years or even longer or even lifetime is the post care. So, today's episode is going to be all about post care, how to take care of the implants, what are the treatment plans to be taken care once the crown is placed. To throw some light on the topic of post care, we have with us Dr. Anju, who is a periodontist and an implantologist who mainly focuses on implant post care once the surgical part is over. Welcome to the podcast, Doctor.
Thank you so much.
Let's start with the topic of understanding on implant prosthesis. So let's get going, ma'am.
Yes, sure. Let's start.
So once the implant is placed in the mouth, what exactly happens?
Most patients, they see the implant crown is the actual tooth that is being replaced.
Right.
But I feel it's the entire tooth replacement system. That is, when an implant is delivered, what is happening once you have placed an implant fixture, which is nothing but the titanium screw,
Correct.
into the jawbone, and we allow it to heal. So after a few months, what happens is that this implant fixture and the bone is directly united.
Correct.
So we in our terms we call as osseointegration, or layman we can tell biological bonding. Something has happened between the implant and the bone.
Right.
So, and now on top of this, you place a crown, but there is a connecting piece that connects your crown with that of the implant fixture, which is placed inside the bone.
Okay.
That connecting piece you called as abutment. So now you have an implant fixture, that's an implant piece, that's a titanium screw, which is placed in the jawbone. You have a connecting piece, which is the abutment, and then what you see, or what patients normally see, that is the tooth crown. So
Okay.
this crown, it is made up of ceramic or it's zirconia. It's actually custom made for the patient.
Okay.
They've designed to suit the patient's smile, his tooth function, and his bite. So when we give an implant crown, it's not just a tooth. It's an entire 3-part tooth replacement system. You have a root piece, you have a connecting system, and then on top of it you have the crown. It's not just one tooth piece, it's an entire
Okay.
tooth system.
It's like an entire
A
system that you're
placing
placing
inside.
Yeah. So, doctor, how is it different from a natural teeth?
Implants, they function the same, they aesthetically look the same, but they're biologically very different from natural tooth.
Okay.
So in a natural tooth, well, when you see a natural tooth, you have something called as a crown that is seen visible in your oral cavity.
Right.
And you have something called as tooth root, which is inside the bone. So for a natural tooth, it will be made up of enamel, dentin, pulp. It has its own blood supply, nerve supply. So, and especially when the tooth root is actually inside the tooth socket with the help of something called as a periodontal ligament.
Right.
So it basically, that ligament will hold your tooth root inside the tooth socket.
Okay,
so it's like a shock absorber system. So now when the natural tooth has got everything. It's got nerve supply, it has got blood supply. Now, when patient bites on a natural tooth, why the patient feels pain? Because you have a nerve supply, you have an active live component supply for the tooth. Whereas for an implant is directly fused with the bone. It's a direct bonding. So there is nothing called as that ligament is absent, that periodontal ligament, the shock absorbing system is absent. So, and in fact, that is why patient like the implant doesn't feel pain.
Okay.
Whatever you find for a natural tooth, you first thing is it's a pain, tooth pain. Patient feels pain. For an implant, that entire brunt is taken by the bone. There's no
Correct.
ligament. There's no shock absorbing system. For a tooth, when force is applied on a natural tooth, yes, some amount of tooth movement can happen inside the socket itself because there's a ligament there. But for
Right.
implant, no. We don't have that. No nerve supply. So the first initial pain response, that is not there. Yeah, there's something wrong. I have, for a natural tooth, I have pain. Yes, that means there's something wrong with my tooth. For implant, is not like that.
So basically, once the nerve is not present, that signal is not sent, and
That
the
feedback
pain
is not there
yeah,
for a natural
pain
tooth.
is not felt.
That feedback is not there for
Correct.
an implant when compared to that of a natural tooth.
Since you just explained us what is the difference between a natural tooth and an implant, so does this react same like a natural teeth for a patient?
Patient will feel that this implant that your crown that you have given, it's functionally working well, for functionally the same. Chewing efficacy is also is improved. He feel that it's exactly same like that of his natural tooth, but only the biological mechanism, the biology around it will be different.
Okay.
For a natural tooth, usually the gums, they are attached to the root with the help of some fibers, gingival fibers.
Right.
There's an attachment. It's not loose. Like the gingiva, the gums are attached to the root surface with the help of fibers. But for implants, there is no such connection. There's no fibers. So that it's just that the gingiva around the implants is just forms some kind of a biological seal.
Okay.
So there's no fiber attachment over it.
Okay.
So that biological seal is very thin and delicate. So it will be more prone to a plaque-induced inflammation.
Okay.
So it's just that the tooth will serve the purpose. It will functionally, aesthetically look the same. Just the biology behind the tooth
Will be different.
Will be different.
Okay.
So that has to be explained to the patient.
Okay. And accordingly, the care needs
Yes,
to be
yes,
taken.
yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
Since you explained that post care makes a lot of difference, why do you think that post care is so much necessary for a patient?
Post care is very much critical once the crown is delivered. Like I've already told, like both implant and natural tooth, they are similar, but only the biology is different.
Right.
So the biological seal around the implants, the gums around the implants, they're very, very, very much delicate. So they are more prone to plaque-induced inflammation. So once the plaque goes and sits, if the patient is not able to maintain hygiene properly, if over a period of time it induces inflammation around the implant, around the soft tissues around the implant. So, and that will be perceived as redness, swelling, bleeding over those areas. And now at this stage, you call it as peri-implant mucositis.
Right.
So this is a stage wherein intervention will be much more simpler and safer. So now the patient will not perceive something as pain. Only he might see there is some that in area around the tissues are inflamed. Now if it is now at this stage left untreated, what happens is that this infection, this inflammation, the inflammatory cascade progresses very fast. Now from the gum tissues, it will progress towards the bone.
Correct.
So when it's progressed towards the bone, what is going to happen is that bone loss is going to happen. So now I've told implant and the bone, they're fused. Now something is happening around the bone, around the implant means bone loss is happening. So it is indirectly affecting the implant stability.
Correct.
So that is why a post care for an implant is very, very much critical when compared to that of a natural tooth. Okay. So natural tooth, I can say they can save themselves to some extent, but implants are not like that.
So the doctor has explained in a great detail why do we need to do a post care and what is the biology behind taking a post care to a critical level. So once the implant is placed, does it stay for lifelong or it needs an active maintenance?
Fixed, you mean, yes, once it's fixed, forever depends upon the maintenance.
Okay.
Forever maintenance depends upon the maintenance. So why, yes, why active maintenance is required is, so once we have given the patient the crown, so there are things that is changing over a period of time as the patient starts using it. Correct. So one is that depending upon now his habits, now plaque is going to accumulate at the gum line. There is You have changes that plaque, once it sits over there, there will be inflammation around it. There will be, you'll be perceived as swelling, some amount of tenderness, now bleeding. So
Right.
this kind of changes. Once this all happens, once the plaque is left or there
Untreated.
on that gum line region, whether if the patient is not performing the oral hygiene well, maintaining it consistently, then over a period of time, these once the infection is confined to gums, it is fine. Now we can treat it at that stage, and intervention can save it. But once it progresses to bone, what happens is that bone loss is going to occur. So patient at this stage is not having any discomfort, is having no pain, so no pain, so everything is all
All
right.
right.
That so, and then once the processes is, patient started using the processes, what is happening, there's some kind of a bite imbalance that is going to happen
Correct.
over a period of time. So this can lead to mechanical complications. So over a period, because I've told you there's no feedback, so how hard I should bite, he doesn't
Okay.
know that. So over a period of time, there might be bite imbalances.
All right.
Yes, so when there's those bite imbalances occur, it is going to damage the prosthetic components. There can be screw loosenings, wearing off of the screw heads, screw fractures can occur.
Okay.
The crown can be dislodged, like if it's a cement retained processes, if the crown has been fixed onto the abutment with the help of cement. So over a period of time, if there's forces are in excess, what happens is that the crown can be dislodged. So some wear and tear of the prosthetic components can happen over a period of time. So that is why an active maintenance is very much required. So it's not like fixed forever and forgotten. It's not that. Yeah, there's an active maintenance phase involved.
So there are a lot of aspects, as you just mentioned. There are a list of things that post care takes care of. So oral hygiene is definitely important. So doctor, how often does an implant failure result from a neglect from the patient side rather than it being a surgical error?
So implant failures, you can have an early failure and you can have a late failure. So early failure, it happens around the time of an implant placement during that healing phase,
Okay.
due to lack of an osseointegration or poor osseointegration. So this is during the healing phase. So such failures that happen during that phase, they're called as early failures. Most of the time, this when protocols are followed, proper protocols are followed, this failure is very less.
Okay.
But if patient selection is wrong, there is some kind of underlying systemic conditions ongoing, there's a recurrent infection at that surgical site which has not been addressed, so that failure will occur during the surgical phase. So late failures are the ones once the processes or the implant crowns are being delivered. What follows after that? Those failures that occur after the crown is delivered, those are called as late failures. So that can be due to, like, late failures usually they occur because of your poor oral hygiene. Patient has not maintained it well.
Okay.
They're not turned up for regular follow-ups. There is an ongoing infection. There is ongoing infection the patient has not addressed or come back. There was bleeding over that site. There was chewing discomfort that was already present, which the patient neglected. There was a chewing discomfort. Patient would feel that there's a high point, chalega, like, so it's okay, I can manage it.
Right.
It's not creating much of a problem. So those things, what happen? Those things, they can contribute to late failures of the implant. So I would say in the early phase, it can be a surgical error or healing error. Healing error, not surgeon's error, surgical error or a healing error.
Correct.
On late, you can contribute, it's definitely because of neglect.
So next time when you feel that your implant is not working well, it could be because of a neglect from a patient side, and a follow-up is also very important. So you can book your consultation on One Health Assist website, plus you can set reminder for follow-up visits as well. So doctor, how important is the patient education at the delivery stage?
Patient education is very, very important. I'll say it's very critical at the delivery stage. So it's not like the implant crown is delivered, treatment is over. Most of the patients are of that premonition, like, yes, I've got my crown, my treatment is over. No, your actual life phase starts after the crown delivery. Patient should be educated about the importance of brushing, maintaining oral hygiene. He should be showed he demonstrated how to clean his implant processes. Maybe if you have multiple implants, if it's a bridge, how to go about cleaning it. Then inform them that if there is any, like, what are the signs to look out for.
Okay.
It's like they should be well aware that you look out for signs of bleeding. If you see any swelling around it, redness around the implant process, these are the signs to watch out for. And the major important thing is that he or she should be scheduled his follow-up visits during that visit, that particular day of delivery. He should be told you should come back on this day, you should come back after this. His follow-up visits should be scheduled during the day, during that period itself.
So maintaining the protocol of
Yes,
post-care
yes.
is definitely
So it's
very important.
it's not, it's like he should be told like, yeah, fixed, over. It's not like that. He should be told to come back. How important is maintenance visits?
Okay.
How important is maintenance? With that awareness he should have, and what will happen if he doesn't come up for a follow, what all he can expect in the patient's mouth. He should be made aware, be educated about that during the delivery stage of an implant processes itself.
Okay. So as you just heard, that follow-up visits are definitely very important, whether it's a doctor visit or a follow-up treatment. So please book your consultations online and even set reminders for a follow-up visit and show up to the doctor for your post-care, definitely. What patients should actually expect in the first day or the next day of the implant delivery?
While it's okay to feel to expect everything going normal, the patient during the first few hours, they can expect some amount of soreness, or
Okay.
what you call some kind of gum pressure. They can feel a pressure over the gums, some kind of soreness, minimum soreness around the gums. It is because your gums are now getting tissues are getting manipulated, or it's adjusting to the processes that has been received on top. So there's some kind of a soft tissue manipulation that is happening once the crown has been delivered. So that is usually visible as some kind of soreness or a pressure, so that it will subside within a period of 1 to 2 days. It will come back to normal. Some patients tell that we feel that something is there. Some kind of like they feel like, yeah, kuch rakha hai, that kind of feeling. Yeah, it's absolutely normal because it's something new. You didn't have a teeth before, so that feeling will subside over a period of time once your brain gets adapted to it. So, and then after the process is delivered, we do bite correction. We adjust the bite immediately, like, and they can feel some kind of I'm biting onto something.
Okay.
So that is absolutely normal, provided that it stays and lingers for a long time and they're actually feeling like, no, I'm biting something hard over there, some kind of a high point over there. If they're feeling it for a longer time, then that is something to watch out for.
Okay. So basically, it's like how the body reacts to the external things
Yes,
that are placed inside
yes,
the mouth.
yes,
So
yes.
it's a coping mechanism.
It's a
for the
coping
body.
mechanism. It gets used to it,
Right.
but something which is not used to it is what to be watched out
So
for.
those are the red flags that
Yes,
the
yes,
patient and
yes.
the doctor both should look
Yes.
out for. Yeah. So since we are talking about the coping mechanism of the body, what symptoms from the patient sides are not normal and you need to look at them immediately?
Now, the patient is complaining of pain, persistent, increasing pain. If there is bleeding from that site persistently, continuously, if that bleeding is not stopping,
Okay.
if you're having a chewing discomfort and that is increasing, if the patient is feeling there's some kind of looseness around, if they're feeling, then those are the symptoms that needs to be watched out for.
So
That
these-
during the early
yeah.
phase.
So once the bite correction is done, even after that, they might feel some discomfort in.
That by after the initial bite correction is done, it's like it takes time for them to adjust. So we call those patients back after
Okay.
1 to 2 weeks. We call them back, check again. So once they've got used to it, we'll be able to understand, like, is there any more minor corrections that is to be done. So in that next 1 to 2 weeks, we call them back. We do that minor corrections. Whatever bite imbalances are still there, we correct it, and then we send the patient.
Okay.
And then we schedule him and see him during the follow-up visits.
Okay. Since we are talking about bite correction, should the patient immediately start with chewing on that particular implant that has been placed?
Excessive chewing on that implant site, on the just delivered implant processes, that is not recommended. We
Okay.
ask them to start slow, as with a soft diet, and gradually improve or switch on to their regular diet. So you give the load in a very
Scheduled
sequential
manner.
manner. Gradually, you're increasing the load. That is what we say, not excessive chewing on that implant site.
Okay.
Immediately after the crown is given, don't go directly go and bite.
Okay.
Gradually increase.
So, are there any dietary precautions that a patient should take care in the first few days?
Dietary precautions for the first few days, starting with the soft food. That's what. Start with the soft food and gradually switch on to your normal dietary routines. Biting on hard items, very hard items like ice. People have a habit of biting onto ice, and uncut whole nuts.
Yeah.
That we do not recommend,
advisable, yeah.
and especially chewy, sugary toffees.
Okay.
That is a complete no.
Avoidable. Okay.
That's a complete no, because one thing is that what happens, I can tell you what happens when they eat chewy sugary toffees. Now suppose if I fix the crown over with the cement, there's a pulling force that is
Right,
applied, so
right.
your crown can get dislodged in that manner. And this whole uncut nuts and all, what has happened, there's a sudden force. They do not know how much force they can take. So it's for a natural tooth, if I've bitten on something very hard, yes, I can perceive it as pain. For implant, it's not like that. I can take as much load. So what happens? The sudden concentrated force on that implant crown is very detrimental for the entire implant processes.
yeah.
So that, because the entire brunt will be taken by the bone.
So let's move to the next segment. How brushing should be different from the normal way of doing it once the implant is placed.
For a natural tooth, you brush all the surfaces, all biting surfaces.
Yeah.
You brush. But for an implant, so the brushing should be more focused on that gum line, that the interface between the implant crown as where the gum lines, there it should be more focused. So there, because plaque tends to get accumulated over there, so your brushing, it should be more angulated towards the that gum line, and
Okay.
more in a small circular motions.
Okay. So there's a lot of technique that
Yeah,
goes
yeah.
into brushing.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. There's more effort has been put
Yeah.
for to brush over those areas.
Okay. We just got an information on how important it is to brush correctly when an implant is placed. So the next question is, do the normal toothbrushes work fine, or do we need some specific specific toothbrushes?
Regular toothbrushes would do. It's not is regular toothbrushes are enough. It is more the technique that matters.
Okay.
So, electric toothbrushes, regular toothbrushes work the same. So, it's the same way. Electric toothbrushes might be prescribed to patients with more or having a limited dexterity, who are
Okay.
literally having difficulty in following the instructions or not able to. But both the electric toothbrushes and your regular toothbrushes work well. It's just the technique matters.
So just follow the regular techniques and your normal toothbrushes can also do wonders. We are talking here about brushing and brushing techniques. So let's understand, what role does an interdental brush play here?
So interdental brushes, they are used along with your regular brushes, toothbrushes. So interdental brushes are just they're nothing but used to clean the areas where regular brush doesn't reach, especially between the implants, two implant crowns, or between an implant crown and a tooth. Those areas where your regular brushes don't reach, the interdental brushes may be able to reach those areas to clean those areas.
Okay.
And now if you have multiple implants and you've given a bridge, so cleaning underneath those bridges, these interdental brushes may be used. And use of floss, so along with interdental brush, you can use floss. So you have super flossers, you have special floss for the implants,
Right.
which is used to clean in between two areas along with your brushes, and as well as your regular brushes. So along with that, we can recommend them to use water flossers. So water flossers, they are nothing but they are just jet stream of water.
Right.
You just spray onto it. It just acts by flushing off the debris, food particles, and the loose plaque around that implant sites.
Right.
So basically, we say, so they are not use only water floss, not like that. You have to use all these interdental aids, water flosses along with your regular brushing. So water flosses, when you use, it's just flushing off. It's like flushing off the bacteria. Whereas when you use brushes and your interdental brushes and floss, you're just mechanically scrubbing off the plaque.
Yeah.
So
it removes all the debris.
Yes, so
from the
everything, it's a compact care. Everything is used as hand in hand, not as a substitute. Everything goes together.
So you just heard the difference between normal toothbrush and an interdental brush or a floss or a water floss. So watch out for all these signals from your doctor once you place an implant, and definitely take care of these things. Let's move on to the next question. So like normal teeth will have a cavity. Do the implants also have cavity?
No.
Okay.
Implant crowns. The implant crowns are made up of your biocompatible materials like ceramic and zirconia. They do not, and your implant is fixture is made of titanium. So they do not. They are do not.
Yeah.
They are not susceptible to decay, just like a normal
Okay.
tooth.
So it's like the layman person will not know whether we
No,
should
there-
expect a cavity in
Um,
implant.
there's no one point. There's no cavity. Implant
Okay.
cannot get cavity. They cannot be decay.
Okay.
There cannot be decay.
We have already heard about the science behind the implant. Let's think from a patient point of view. What are the early signs in terms of any red flags?
So, the earliest signs to watch out for now, since I've told there's no pain,
Right.
so patient will feel, yeah, everything is normal. So there, for them, they will think that maintenance is optional. I don't have pain, everything feels normal, but no. So if you experience redness, if you see there's redness around that implant site, if there's bleeding from those
Right.
sites, so most of them, they think like I might have brushed too hard.
hard.
That is why it is causing bleeding, and they tend to leave it off like that.
Okay.
So that is something to watch for. In fact, for when you ask me about implant crowns, bleeding is the first sign to watch out for.
Okay.
And then if you have bad taste,
Hmm.
if there's some amount of discharge coming out from those sites, that is something that's to be watched out
watched.
for. And then if suddenly you feel that your bite has changed, there's some chewing discomfort that you have experienced lately, that's the thing that you have to watch out for. You'd immediately come over, even if they feel ki, yes, it will set. Most people think that it will settle off in a
Okay.
few days, but this no. It is not when compared to that for an implant prosthesis. So when you experiencing a chewing discomfort which was not there, that is something that you need to watch out for.
Let's move to the next question. Can clenching or grinding damage the implants?
Yes.
Okay.
So most patients, they don't know that they are clenching or grinding their teeth, because usually it occurs at night.
Okay.
So they might not be aware. So bruxers, when they wake up in the morning, they wake up with muscle soreness,
Right.
muscle tenderness, tooth pain, sensitivity. So that time we understand this is the classic sign that the patient is a bruxer. So what has happened now for a natural teeth? Okay, now for an implant teeth, this bite is excess. It's a sudden force that is happening on the implants.
Correct.
So when the sudden concentrated force has been applied, you don't have ligaments. What has happened? The entire force, it's been stressed down to the bone. So it is the bone now, it is going to get affected.
Right.
So it's and this goes on for a longer period of time. It's not a one-day habit. It's a habit that
Yeah.
goes on for a longer period of time. So as a result of this clenching or night grinding habit, it damages that implant in a long run. It can literally result in mechanical complications, in screw fracture.
Right.
Because there is a force that
Force
is
attached,
attached. In such patients, we recommend them, we give them a night guard,
Okay.
just to protect the prosthesis from further damage.
Okay. Let's move to the next segment where we will link the implant with lifestyle and different types of habits. So, how does a smoker need to take care when an implant is placed? What is the difference between a normal lifestyle person and the person who is a smoker?
Smoking is one of, when we say it's a well-established role in affecting the implant health. In fact, we say in our terms, it's a modifiable risk factor.
Okay.
So what happens when a patient smokes is that a smoker, he has reduced blood supply.
Right.
So oxygen and cellular activity happening around the tissues. So there will be a delay in tissue healing. So during the surgical phase, when he's a regular smoker, so it is going to impair his tissue healing. So there can be, it can affect that his implant fusion with the bone. There can be a delay in the osseointegration. There can be impairment that happens. So we tell the patient to either reduce or quit smoking. And moreover, the nicotine that is present, it causes blood vessel constriction.
Right.
So the blood flow will be reduced. So in that case, that it will mask the earlier signs of inflammation, redness, bleeding. Those things will not be seen
Okay.
in a smoker. So in that case, that's a very dangerous way when it's literally masking the early signs of an
Right,
inflammation. So once it progresses till the bone, that time will be come to know, yeah, yes, it reached the bone. So these smokers, they are at a higher risk of developing peri-implant diseases
Correct.
when compared to that of
And-
non-smokers.
Okay. So what about the people who consume alcohol? How is it different for them?
For them also, excessive regular consumption of alcohol, it's not good. There is also there's a reduced blood supply. It is going to impair the immune response, alter the response,
Right.
and will literally weaken the immune response for such people. So there they can also experience delayed healing, impaired healing. The people who consume alcohol, they have a tendency to develop dry mouth.
Right.
So when you have a dry mouth, the
Dry
plaque
gland.
accumulation is very much faster over those gum regions. And indirectly, these patients, it will affect their ability to maintain that oral hygiene also. Or most of the people who consume alcohol, they have a clenching or grinding habit also.
Okay.
So all this together, when put together, it's definitely going to impact your implant health.
Okay. So as you just heard, the lifestyle plays a very important role. Now let's try to understand, if a patient is diabetic, what is the care that is needed to be done on implant for a chronic diabetic patient?
So in patients with poorly controlled diabetes, there's a weakened immune response. So that
Absolutely.
plaque that is going to get accumulated, it triggers an inflammation in a much faster way when compared to that of healthy or a controlled diabetics.
Okay.
So, and that too, apart from diabetics, they might, if they are taking any medications, other certain medications that, like if you have conditions, autoimmune conditions, osteoporosis, that is going to affect the bone health also.
Right.
So, and then when you have a systemic conditions like osteoporosis or autoimmune conditions and diabetes and all those things, it is going to cause a chronic systemic inflammation also.
Right.
So that itself there's amount of response that is going on inside the body. So the bone loss will be more in such patients.
Okay. So for a chronic patient, they are actually immunocompromised. So the oral hygiene, along with the science behind the implant, makes a lot of difference, right?
Yes.
Okay. Since we are talking about post care, how frequently does a patient need to come for a follow up?
So immediately after the implant crown delivery, you have adjusted the bite, you have seen the overall soft tissue health around the implant processes. You have taken a baseline radiograph. You have kept an X-ray. You know now what is the condition which you are sending the patient back.
Okay.
So you call them back after 1 to 2 weeks also. So let them get adjusted to the crown, and then again you check for any bite imbalances.
Okay.
That minor corrections you do it in that follow-up visits, and depending upon whether the patients, like now, if they're compliant, how well they are compliant, if their oral hygiene maintenance, you schedule them in the first year after the implant process delivery. You call them at a frequency of 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
Within the first year. So after the first year, you'll understand how well is the patient compliant. So depending on that, you can classify them into, these are high risk patients, these are
Okay.
low risk patients. Low risk patients are the patients who are they're compliant, they're regular to the follow-up
Right.
visits, they have maintained their oral hygiene well. So those are low, and they do not have any habits, or they do not have any underlying systemic conditions. So those are the low risk patients. So
Correct.
in after that 1 year, you can call this low risk patients every 6 months.
Okay.
Now, when the patient is, you have understood the patient is not compliant, his oral hygiene is very poor, he has an underlying habit, there are systemic conditions, he has some underlying diabetes,
Okay.
he has any autoimmune conditions, and those patients are high risk patients. So
Right.
there, for them, the frequency will be in every 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
After the first year, it will
Okay.
become like that. That's how we
Categorize
categorize the patient, and then call
into
them
different sectors,
sectors
actually.
and call them for a follow-up.
Okay. Since you mentioned about categorizing the patient for follow-up visit, what do dentists actually look for when a patient comes for a maintenance visit?
During the implant maintenance visits, what we actually look for is that we assess the overall patient's health. We check for how well he has maintained his oral hygiene.
Okay.
Is he able to maintain well? He is compliant on that part. How well is his oral hygiene? We'll evaluate the soft tissue around that implant. Then we will be checking for bite imbalances. Then we'll be taking x-rays, radiographs to assess the bone level with that of the previous radiographs. So is there any
Okay.
bone changes that is occurring? That we'll take radiographs. These are the things we evaluate during an implant maintenance visits. So when for a natural tooth, when you have, we look for cavities, we look for wear facets, we look for sensitivities, we look for how's the oral hygiene,
Right.
whether any deposits are there. That's for a normal visit. For implant, it will be particularly based upon implant processes as well as the soft tissue around it and patient's overall oral hygiene.
Okay.
That's what we look out for.
Doctor, can professional cleaning can prevent peri-implant diseases?
Yes, professional cleaning can prevent peri-implant diseases. During these maintenance follow-up visits, we evaluate the patients. If they require a professional cleaning, we'll
Okay.
do it from our side. We're using our implant safe instruments that we have.
Okay.
So it will additionally, if they have an initial tendency, early tendency of an infection, that will all we'll be able to manage during those phases.
Mhm.
The disease has not progressed far and is just very limited, and we have caught it early, and it's just limited to the gum areas. So these professional cleaning, along with we can give a shorter antimicrobial regime. It can support
The entire.
faster healing, as well as it can support help to maintain the patient's oral hygiene well.
So we just heard about how the post care has to be done. Let's look at some specific case scenarios. In case of a immunocompromised patient or elderly patient, what is the difference between the treatment?
So for an elderly patient, aged patient, what happens is that they might have limited manual dexterity.
Right.
The way a normal patient brushes, their efficacy might be reduced for an
Yeah.
elderly patient. So in such patients, we recommend them using an electric toothbrush. So then these patients might be on different medications also. So these certain medications they can attribute to this dry mouth, and we already know dry mouth what can happen.
Right.
They're more prone to a plaque-induced
Mhm.
inflammation. A caregiver would help such patients to improve or may help them maintain their oral
Oral health.
hygiene rather than they depending on themselves. They might miss to forget brushing, or they
Right.
might not, that efficacy while with they can maintain might be reduced.
Mhm.
So a caregiver would help, and such aged patients, our follow-ups will be much more in a shorter interval
Right.
than our regular
Regular
patients.
patient.
So they will be called in a much shorter frequency.
Mhm. So the medically compromised patient need to actually take extra care and
Yes,
ask for
yes,
help
yes, yes,
in
yes,
terms of oral hygiene as
yes,
well.
yes.
So, doctor, what is the mindset with which a patient should approach for an implant care?
I would say the patient should approach an implant care with respect, a sense of responsibility. It's like the surgeon has placed the implant. Now the restorative dentist have given the processes, checked the occlusion, made it now it's functional. Now that it depends upon the patient how he or she takes care of it for a longer period of time.
Okay.
So when I feel this kind of responsibilities, respect would come only if at the chair side before delivery, if the doctor explains him what he has actually received, a sense of awareness, educating the patient about what he has received. So it
Okay.
creates a sense of awareness for the patient, and that awareness will uh, uh, affect the patient's habits, and those habits are going to determine the outcome of your implant.
Right. Okay.
So then they will understand what can happen. So when you personalize the risk, when you tell them if do not come for maintenance visits, what can go wrong if you have such habits, what can happen, how it can impact the your implant health, when they are being made aware and the risk has been personalized, I feel these patients will remain more proactive
Okay.
in maintaining the implants.
Okay. So, as you just heard, that post care is important, but a personalized treatment plan is definitely the most important thing. To book a consultation with Dr. Anju, please log on to One Health Assist website and also look for a personalized, customized care on implant. So, doctor, let's know, how does platform like One Health Assist helps you in maintaining your patient?
I find that this platform is very helpful in maintaining patient records. The entire patient's health depository is available
Absolutely.
in one segment, one area. So the entire patient's dental records, I can absolutely am able to
Right.
see in one go.
Yeah.
And then I find that consultations and booking appointments, it is very much easy, as well as for me as well as for the patients,
Right.
and then for them to book an appointment and especially follow-up visits, it's much more easier on this
That is what.
platform, and they've been given reminders about their follow-up visits. So I find this platform very helpful.
That's really good to know, ma'am. Thank you, doctor, for such an insightful podcast and a detailed conversation on implants and post care. I am your host, Deena, signing off for now from this podcast. Please like, share, and subscribe, and stay tuned.